Welcome into this Five Clubs conversation. I'm Gary Williams. You know, the calendar is rolled to the month of March, and that means our entire staff. That means Jay Billis, it means Gil Hance, it means Emma Carpenter, and myself. We got a lot of work to do because everything is building momentum in the game of golf, including people playing the game. You know, I think we take for granted a lot of times in parts of the country, especially when I lived in Florida for 10 years. It's like, you know, people don't play golf until it's legitimately springtime. And of course, you got the first major in the women's game, which will precede the first major in the men's game. And you also have the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Well, today, joining me are two of the biggest stars in golf. They can sell product. They can drive interest while playing exemplary golf, and that is Jessica and Nelly Korda. These are two people who are vitally important to the industry of golf. They're stars, and I think in particular, American stars have a value that is hard to measure at times, and that's one of the things among many that I'm looking forward to talking to them about. Nelly has ascended to world number one. Jessica has won 7 times. She's been very close in several major championships, and they are two of the faces of the women's game. And they're taking a break right now, but they're getting ready to get busy again because the West Coast swing that'll precede that first major of the year in the California desert is coming up very quickly. I don't really know them, and I can't wait to share with them the one time that we actually met each other. I don't even know if they'll remember that. With all that being said, I'm very excited about this conversation with Nelly and Jessica. And with that, I welcome in Jessica and Nelly Korda. Guys, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, good.
It's good to have you both. Now, I was mentioning in the open, I've only met you guys one time. And I actually know the exact date. You want to know why? Because last night I went back and I watched an episode of Morning Drive from March 8th, 2012. Jessica, you were on the show with your dad. And Nelly, you sat outside of the studio. And I can tell you, you guys have aged really, really well. I looked so bad. I looked so puffy and fleshy. I could only watch like 2 minutes of it. Do you even remember being there, Jessica?
I do. I actually had no idea Nelly was there. I forgot about that. Yeah, I definitely remember that.
Nelly, do you remember being there?
I think vaguely, but yes. Gosh, that was so long ago. Oh. I'm glad that you noted that we aged well, though, so thank you.
I was wondering where he was going with that.
Well,
yeah,
I will tell you, I generally don't think much about these interviews other than being prepared, but I really did think about how am I going to say this without making them, like I didn't want to say, Jessica, you've aged really well. I didn't want to say that. So I think I actually navigated it pretty nicely. I'm quite proud of myself. And by the way, Nelly, you keep flipping your hair. You're preoccupied. You just shared with the world. Now you're sharing with the world. You got your haircut today.
I did, yeah. I chopped it all off, and it feels very weird. I'm not really sure how to feel about it. I don't know what to do with it. It's like I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my hair.
Jessica, I mean, she said she got emotional about it. She said that her and the stylish were getting emotional. Do you identify with that at all?
I do. My stylist was actually really excited about chopping, like however many inches off. She was like, let me at it. Brought like her scissors out and just smiling through the whole thing. As I was like, are we sure about this? So I feel her.
You know, when I asked Chris, your agent, about trying to get you guys on, I would have been thrilled to get, you know, one of you at one time and one of you at another time. But I really wanted you guys to share this together, not because, look, I know how, you know, kind of tedious at times, some of the things that you guys get asked. And I certainly hope that I don't venture into those areas. But I do find you guys to be a miracle. And I say it for this reason. Look, I grew up in a town of about 35,000 people outside of New York City, and there's never been anybody, and there were good athletes in my town who never went on to become world-class athletes in any particular area. And you guys grew up in the same house. And not to mention your brother and obviously your parents. And I think the Williams story is one of the great stories in the history of sports, not just American sports, not just tennis. Do you guys get affected by the fact that you're doing things that are very rare for one person to do, but you have a family full of outliers?
I don't think we think about it, to be honest. I mean, it's one of those things that to us feels normal. We understand that, being a professional athlete is very special. But I also think that, this is how we grew up. This is like what we all wanted to do. And internally we motivate each other.
Yeah, it was kind of like the atmosphere we were also raised in. I mean, even though our parents were retired, my dad was still coaching professional tennis players when we were young. So I feel like it was just kind of like the atmosphere we grew up around. We also grew up at IMG full around a bunch of athletes. So I think, as Jess said, it kind of feels normal in a sense.
Yeah.
Your dad, it's interesting. I was reading some things about his interest in the game of golf, and Jessica, there was a quote from you years ago that you were working with an instructor, and your dad was kind of curious and really taken by the process of golf in terms of becoming better. I mean, really, really good. And you guys did figure skating, you did gymnastics, but there was more than just a curiosity with golf. Do you think that drove kind of your both of your interests, because your father had this keen interest in the process of getting better at golf?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think that would be more of a question for our dad. For me, I really just enjoyed being out there. My friends were doing it. It was something that I was able to do with my grandparents or grandfather and my dad, spending our summers in Czech Republic playing golf, like handicap Wednesdays, and playing club matches over the weekend and traveling and stuff like that. So for me, I loved the experiences that I was having with it. And not necessarily the technical side. I think at that age, I appreciate the process of it, I think, more now than I did as a kid.
Nelly, there was another line that I read that said, look, we needed to have something for Nelly to do. So there was this natural environment for her to kind of fall into, but it takes an interest. Did you feel like it was a natural interest for you with respect to golf?
Oh my gosh. I think I just wanted to do everything Jess was doing. Like, you can just ask her about like the stories growing up. Like, she had to take me everywhere. She probably thought I was the most annoying little sister alive. But to be honest, I actually hated going to the range and practicing when I was young. Like, I hated the kind of like the grind. And then I started like getting more into like the competitive side of it and seeing Jess on tour, and I was already obviously like in love with the sport by then, but I started playing tournaments when I was 9. So, growing up, I wasn't too sure about it, but then I think something just clicked and I fell in love with it. And I could also do it with Jess too.
You qualified for your first U.S. Women's Open when you were 14, and that's when it.
Yeah, right. No, that's when I was like, okay, I want to do this for the rest.
Well, that was
of my
2013,
life.
Right? That was 2013.
Yeah.
And then for you, Jess, it was 2008. Did you have that same kind of like, yeah, like, look at this, look at the swag, look at the lights, look at all this. Like, this is, I want this.
Yeah, that was exactly what it was like. We actually have a picture of Nelly walking outside the ropes with my dad's like long socks on because the grass was so wet. She didn't have shoes that were waterproof for that first US Open, but that's what it was like. I mean, signing autographs, the swag and everything. And my rookie year when I came out on tour, I didn't know that every tournament wasn't like a US Women's Open. So it was a slight rude awakening to being like, wait, where are all my gifts? Like, where are all the fans Monday through Wednesday? So it's just, where are all the grandstands? it was just very different to what we have week in, week out. But that's why the majors are so great. That's why the U.S. Women's Open is so amazing.
Yeah, it was always literally the highlight of my year going to watch Jess. One, because we would always rent houses with like trampolines. That too, that was fun. It was really cool. I was watching Jess, and she actually snuck me into the locker room. Shh, no one telling me.
In 2008?
Yeah, she was literally, she met Morgan Pressel, Lorena.
You were probably taller than Morgan.
Yeah.
No, I was a little pipsqueak back then.
Yeah.
By the way, for those folks who are
cool.
downloading, who are just, doing the audio version, I highly recommend you watch it on YouTube as well, because when Nelly said that I just wanted to do everything that Jess did, it was a very, very subtle but very smug little hair flip from Jess. The whole thing about like nature and nurture. I had this really good conversation with Jordan Spieth years ago, because both of his parents were college athletes. His brother played college basketball at Brown. But beyond that, I heard this really interesting conversation that John Legend had with Howard Stern. And John Legend came from a family whose parents were, his mom was a seamstress and his dad was a factory worker, but his mother led the chorus in church and his dad was a drummer. And he said, there's no doubt that the nurturing that I got in my household led me to my love for music. And he went on to go to the University of Pennsylvania, and obviously, and the reason I bring that up is that, in terms of, you guys are genetically, you're predisposed to have, incredible athletic genes, but you're in an environment from a very tender age of being around highly competitive people. What is more attributable to you being who you are, Nelly, nature or nurture?
It's a tricky question, because I feel like there's so much that I guess your parents can show you or someone around you can show you, but it's how you put it into play, in a sense. Like it's all on you. I don't know how you feel, Jess. Like, I feel like,
it's 50-50.
Yeah, I think that someone can show you the ropes, but it's how you use that information then on. Because I feel like there's so many parents that have been former athletes, and maybe their kids haven't wanted to play, and then, or haven't gone on to be maybe successful, but they've tried everything, and they've taken everything that their parents have told them about it. But I personally think it's probably 50-50. I don't know how you feel, Jess.
Yeah, it's 50-50. I mean, it was the same thing with like Nelly going out on tour. Like, it was only like the nurture part was 50, and then the nature part was 50. Like, you got to figure it out on your own as well, but the guidance obviously helps. But it's also just everyone's so different. I'm not the same as Nelly. We're not the same as our parents. We definitely have tendencies that are similar, but at the end of the day, you got to figure it out on your own.
The competitive part of it is something that you may acquire. You may be around hyper competitive people. Some people become unrecognizable when they're doing what they do. Tom Brady is a horrible. Now, you guys took a very nice picture with him Sunday night, and I had the experience of being around him, and he really is a genuinely delightful person. He's a horrible human being when he's playing. I mean, he's unrecognizable to himself. Michael Jordan is not dissimilar. Are you guys that much different when you are competing than when you are away from golf, Jess?
No. I am very similar. I want to win, but my personality kind of stays very similar on and off. That's how I feel. I know Nelly's different. But for me, I play better when I am free, loose, happy. I'm still like intense, but it's not like I want to cut your throat, because at the end of the day, it's not a head to head. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
golf is not a head-to-head sport. It's more like I'm trying to whip the golf course's butt, and then hopefully that translates into whipping everybody else's butt. Um, but I think, match play is different. Match play, I'm totally cutthroat. I won't talk to you at all. But this is different. Yeah, I'm more of the same person on the golf course as I am off.
Nelly, are you chippier than your sister? Are you?
I think I just flip a switch out there. I don't know. I guess a lot of people think I'm intimidating, and I have a little bit of an RBF out there. I don't mean to, but I guess I just like, it's my zone, right? So I just flip a switch and I get lost in that zone, and that's where I feel most comfortable. And when I'm with friends and when I'm with people I know and I'm comfortable, like I'm kind of a completely different person. But when I'm in my zone, then I just like kind of flip a switch out there.
The whole idea of, whatever age that you make a commitment to one particular endeavor, that you really just pour your heart and soul into being lost in the pursuit of excellence. This sport is inherently selfish. And as you get older, your life evolves. And for you, Jess, you're now married. I mean, you have somebody else in your life that you're trying to share this journey with. Is it more challenging to be selfish about all the things that you feel like you need to do to be at your best as you get older?
Good question. I think you learn your routine where you feel your best, and then everyone around you kind of falls into place or into step with what you're trying to do. We know that this isn't a career we're going to have forever. There is an expiration date on our careers, and you're trying to give it everything you got. And it's so important to have people around you that understand that and respect that, and you're all on the same page, because then it makes your job so much easier, because you have that unwavering support behind you, and everybody understands. Like, the amounts of times that I've had to cancel plans last minute because I'm so tired from working out, playing golf, like the day was just tough and I just don't have the energy to hang out with some of my friends, for example. They're totally understanding. They just don't care. They're like, that's fine. You do what you have to do. And when you have time, you come and hang out. Or same thing with my husband. If I'm just not feeling something, it kind of just falls in step to everything that I'm trying to do. And it's so important to have that balance, and the people behind you that get it.
Nelly, are you, you're not as far along in the journey of life as your sister is. Do you feel those same things kind of pulling at you now already at 23?
Well, I'm not married, but I
Hope not.
but I think, yeah, as Jess said, super important to have people around you that are very understanding of your lifestyle, your wants and needs. I cancel plans all the time, unfortunately. Jess knows. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm just not going out. Like, I am so dead. Like, I need to recharge my batteries. And that's just how it is. Like, athletes, you just you have to be selfish, and the people around you kind of have to be understanding.
Do you guys feel like you have the kind of balance that you want, Nelly? I mean, again, you mentioned you got to say no. I mean, and thankfully you've got people in your lives that understand, and look, they have lives too, and everybody's life is different. Do you feel like you have the balance you want?
Yeah. I mean, I think your body kind of tells you when you just need to go and have fun. You dedicate so much of your time and energy to like the sport and to the grind, and then to the grind, by the way, to the grind. But sometimes you just need to step away and just kind of like live your life and just be normal in a sense. Like, it's so weird saying you have to be normal, but you just have to go, you have to get away sometimes and just take a breather, be with the people you love. So it's, as Jess said, it's super important to find that balance, and everyone else finds a balance differently. And I think that's one of the struggles of, I think, athletes as well, is finding that balance, what works best for yourself.
You guys
and not feeling guilty and not feeling guilty about doing it, because there's so many people chirping at you all the time. Why aren't you playing more? Why aren't you doing this more? You should be out there. Like, supporting every event, and you're like, we literally can't. Like, we would love to, but we also need to make sure that we take care of us, because the seasons are long, and we need to learn to not feel bad, because the guilt is there, but you kind of have to have that separation sometimes.
Yeah, like a great example last year was after we played the Olympics and then Solheim. I was so mentally exhausted after Solheim that I had to take some events off. And then my first event, like back, I played in New Jersey, and I still like, you know, like little things kind of like tick you off. Like you just get so much more agitated out there. And that's when you're like, okay, I need to take a step away and not feel guilty about doing it.
You know, Jess, you mentioned people chirping at you. Who? Are you talking about, like, social media platforms?
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah, keyboard warriors. Like, I mean, you're trying to do your best. Like, I'm so sorry, but you know, it is what it is. This is what I do. It's not who I am, but we play in everything that we're supposed to play on our schedule, and we have to do it in a way that fits us the best. And I mean, we have 30 plus events. We're not going to be playing 30 plus weeks, so it's fine. But the guilt is there.
Between the two of you, who handles the anonymous warriors on keyboards that are, you know, again, they swoop in, they troll. I honestly think I mean, I can't ask athletes this question enough about the impact of social media on performance. Which one of you handles it better?
I'm usually the silent one. I just like complain to Jess, and Jess is the savage one.
In which one? I was like, in which way?
And Jess is like the savage one that comes up with real, like they're really good responses sometimes, and usually they're so good the person deletes their comment.
Really?
I just do it in a way where I present information, and sometimes it's in a slightly passive aggressive way to where it makes them feel bad about it. I mean, listen, if you want to be seen, you were seen. You just can't take the truth and then people liking my truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Passive aggression is lethal if it's done effectively. I didn't realize that you, like, how do you do it exactly? Do you do it with like a clinical way, like laying out information, or you do it with kindness that they then recoil and now they're like currying for favor? What is your strategy?
No, it honestly depends on the comment. I let it flow. I write it out. I show it to Nelly, and usually send it to our agent Chris to make sure that like I can't get into trouble. And if I get the go ahead, then I go ahead.
Wow, that's very deliberate. I mean, so you really do. You pause, you script it, you get approval from Chris, and then you hit send.
Yeah, basically, and then we just wait.
You don't do it, but the thing is, like you don't do it to every comment. It's very rarely.
No. It's very rarely. It's more just like the comments that it's just like, are you using your brain? You know, like are you like, you're a fan. So if you're a fan, you should know fact A through Y. Like, I don't care. You should know. Like, don't comment something stupid just because you're angry, or I don't know. Like, and the betting, now that betting is a thing too.
Oh yeah.
It just escalates to a whole new level.
Yeah. Now, Nelly, is Jess actually started with, do you use your brain ? Or, I mean, that's been that gets edited out by Chris, doesn't it?
That would be so funny though. Well, some comments actually honestly deserve it because they just don't even make sense. But we try not to focus on it. Like, we even reassure ourselves. We're like, okay, she sends it to me or I send it to her, and she's like don't think about it twice, or stuff like that. So we try, but there's like occasionally one where just like, I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, you go, sis. Thank you.
There's a great book that I read a couple years ago that actually Rory has read it and talked about it. It's called Digital Minimalism. by this guy who's a professor at Georgetown. His name is Cal Newport. And it's not about like turning into an Amish person, but it's about like really assessing for like 30 days what on your phone is really of value to you, and stripping off all these. And I did it, and I found it, I actually found it really kind of therapeutic. Now, I don't get the kind of input that you guys get, but I still get harpooned by people here and there. Do you guys, have you figured out a social media strategy, or do you try to make it as much folly as you can and just fun? Or do you have a bona fide strategy about placement and inclusion, and letting people, kind of see your life beyond just playing? Do both of you guys have a strategy?
I have no strategy. I just try to keep it kind of, obviously I don't share absolutely everything. I share bits and pieces here and there. I still try to keep it like personal, but I have literally zero strategy to my social media. I just try to keep it me.
Jess, do you same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I won't put a ton of like personal things on there either. I kind of keep it pretty wide on what I like to put out there, but in terms of like personal stuff, not a ton.
Yeah. You guys at the beginning of the year, and I thought that this was good, but I say this about the presence of celebrities at your Tournament of Champions, and I like the optics, and I like the byplay. I like the fact that you guys are around people who clearly love golf, and some of them are actually quite good. But I asked this because I talked to Mike Wan after he'd taken the USGA job, and I said, how close were you with the Tournament of Champions, you guys co-opting that week in Maui? And he said there were contracts that were signed. And that I found disappointing that it didn't happen. Do you think Nelly, do you think that should happen? Do you think it will happen? That you guys in the PGA Tour can co-op a week and share a property and have two different championships?
I mean, that would be a super exciting opportunity for women's golf. I've never heard of anything like that. I don't know about Jess, but I personally didn't. This information wasn't really shared with the players. But, I think that's kind of a stage that, in a sense, for us to continue growing, we need to be put on, which would be really exciting. I know we have a couple of events with maybe the European tour.
Yeah.
That we had. We haven't been back in Australia in like a couple of years. And then I think we have one in the UK, maybe Irish.
One in Sweden now. with Annika and Henrik.
Yes, but I don't think that's an official LPGA event.
Right, it's not. It's not.
I think it's just we have an event in Ireland that's joined with the European tour, if I stand corrected, right, Jess?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I
know the Aussies for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that would be really exciting to be put on a stage like that. And I think, to push women's golf forward, we, in a sense, need to be put on a stage like that.
Yeah, no, look, you guys are getting more network television. The announcement earlier this year about the purse, which is really robust in terms of what they're doing with the U.S. Women's Open. I think it's great. You guys you did the double in 2014 at Pinehurst. I thought that was great. Why, Jess, do you think that women's golf has the kind of traction that it currently has? Like the guys from No Laying Up, Foreplay Pod. Look, I've always, and I'm not saying this this is not about, self-congratulation. I mean, you guys you're special at what you do, but why do you think this is happening now? Why do you think women's golf has the kind of traction that it currently has?
Well, women's golf is the highest growing kind of sport in a sense that there is right now. A lot of it is obviously with the movements that have been in the last couple of years, the women's movements, but a lot of it is just possibly just talking louder, maybe speaking up, having the voice, being like, listen, we have a good product, but you guys are only putting the men on. Like, equality means, that we get at least the same platform, give us the same opportunities. And then from there on, who knows what may happen. and you want to have representation of both sides. So it's nice to see the inclusion of women in a lot of these things, and you can kind of see where it's taking our sport as well. So
also
those are really important. Go ahead.
Also, to add to that is, I think COVID really helped the game of golf,
Big
where
time.
more women started paying attention. I think more just people in general started paying attention to golf, and I think that's also has helped our sport a lot.
I will tell you this, and I said this before I brought you on. I think you guys are vitally important, both of you, because you can sell product, you can drive interest. You're good for the industry. And I've said this for years. Some people may think it's myopic. I think it's really important that American women be at the top of the game. And I think it's great that with all of the traction and all the interest in the Far East in women's golf, but I think it's essential that there are American women at the top of your sport. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you, Nelly, I was like, are you going to answer?
Awkward pause.
I mean, we're at the top, the highest top, and now you're still at the highest top. But obviously it's really important because in America, like, we essentially are an American-based tour. We play worldwide, but we are based in the United States. So that is obviously really important. Representation is important. I think that there is also a lot of pressure on American women's golf, on the same side of it, for all those reasons. Everyone's like, well, we need more Americans, and we need more. Americans are doing their darnest. We're not sitting on our hands, being like, oh, gee, I hope it comes this year. And we're working our butts off. The competition is really good. The girls on our tour are phenomenal athletes. And if anyone gives the LPGA Tour a chance or a viewing, come to one event, you'll see that. You'll see us hit amazing shots. We don't have cameras behind us 24/7. So, you miss a lot of shots. And unfortunately, we only cover a certain amount of groups, but hopefully in the future that changes, and everyone can be able to see kind of the talent that our tour has, with American golf obviously being, a top priority for everyone.
When she said, Nelly, sit on her hand, she was actually twiddling her thumbs. Can you twiddle your thumbs the way that she can? It's a good talent. Yeah. The idea of you guys being at the top of the game, I actually think that you guys are both great for Lexi Thompson. And I'm not asking you to do dime stores psychoanalysis of her. I thought it was a burden for her to be the face of American women's golf. I thought it was hard. I think some people are cut out for it. You guys seem to have an ease to handling all of this stuff. And I'm not saying it's hard for her, but I think there's an ease with you guys. You don't prepare for this. You just perform, and then by virtue of that, all of a sudden comes all this other stuff. Do you like doing all this other stuff, Nelly?
50-50. Yeah. I mean, like I always say, good golf solves everything, right? So I focus on my golf, and hopefully with that, more comes. I don't try to focus on any type of aspect of what comes outside of golf. Like, my main focus is golf, and trying to play the best to my best ability. That's my main focus, always will be. And every other thing is a bonus. And if I have time and if I have energy, I'll do it. Obviously, with so many requests coming in, you still have to sit back and be like, okay, my main focus is golf and performing at my best ability. And for me to perform at my best ability, I have to say no. I have to be at home. I have to have a boot camp. I have to go to the gym. I have to see my trainer. And it sucks. Yeah, it sucks saying no all the time, but you just have to. And I say 50-50, like you just kind of have to fall back down to earth and, practice and make sure that you can go into an event knowing that you've done all your work and that you can play to your best ability. And if you play well that week, then great. And if you don't, you learn from that experience and you try to take it into next week and so on.
Jess, one of the things, go ahead.
Sorry. The saying is you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So you'll always hear about it if you constantly say no, and you will hear about your poor play if you're constantly doing that, but then not practicing And then they're like, well, why aren't you at the top of your game? And you're like, well, I was just doing
also
this and that. So
it also depends on what you want, right? If you want to be more in the media side of it after maybe playing well, or if you want to play golf because you love it and you want to go out and play to your best ability every week. It just depends on what you personally want out of anything.
Jess, I was going to say, in addition to noticing how bloated I looked in that interview from 10 years ago, was how kind of chill you were. You had just won in Australia. You had just turned 19, and you were very comfortable. And your dad was sitting next to you, and he actually looked nervous. And this guy's won a Grand Slam. But anyway, I mean, did you have to adapt to a lifestyle? Because, you know, taking on a profession at a very young age, which you did, is pretty daunting. I didn't figure out what I wanted to do really until I was 30.
I knew what I wanted to do when I was 15. I knew that I wanted to be on the LPGA tour, playing week in, week out with these women. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And if I wasn't playing US Open, I was working my butt off to be in the US Open the following year. That's all that mattered to me. I wanted to play at the highest level with the best women in golf. And so I think the crappier year was my rookie year, when I had a tough time adjusting to the travel schedule, the demand of week in, week out, being so young on a tour that there weren't very many young girls. I think I was actually the only one, and Lexi was Monday qualifying at that time.
Right.
But I mean, the age gap was quite big. These days, I mean, we're 25 and under. So there's no problem with that. But back then, I definitely had a hard time adjusting to it. And then by the time I won in 2012, it was like a weight just lifted off of my shoulders, and I was definitely a lot more comfortable. I almost like proved myself to like the older girls. And so I had gained their respect. And it was kind of smooth sailing from there.
The trio, is that what you guys still call the group text that you've got with your brother?
Yeah.
Okay. And that is a very active group text, right? I mean, who is the most, see, I have a problem with someone who can't just write like a couple of thoughts in one text. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
And the person, like my wife is a serial texter. Like she'll, it's like rapid fire. It's like an automatic weapon. There's like 7 before I can respond to 1. Do you guys get like a full thought out before you hit send, or no?
No.
We're
rapid
rapid
fire.
fire
Yeah.
family.
You guys would drive me crazy.
If you ask our agent Christopher, he'll know that it's just one after another, and they're not even they're not complete sentences either.
It's either straight silence, where it's like hello, question mark, or it's like just rapid fire.
Yeah.
How is watching your brother? I know that you were both quoted. I think you were both in the same side of a draw. You were driving somewhere. You were both like redlining with adrenaline because he was playing
Atlantic City.
Yes, yes. And you got there and you were like, which one of you had like a chamomile tea? Because you were so amped up that you, Jess, that was
Jess.
you?
Yeah, that was me.
It was actually really funny because we were driving to the golf course and Seb just won, and I was right behind her, and I was just flashing my lights at her. Like, oh.
My hands were like out of the car. I was like,
yeah.
We were high-fiving each other in the parking lot, and then we're like, okay, time to play.
Yeah.
How the sports are so different. The one thing you have in common is that you do it alone, and you have to rely on obviously a team when you're not playing, but you can't, if you don't have it, you don't have it. But with him, it is an opponent. It is an opponent, and the resolution comes in 3 sets or 5 sets. With you guys, it can be a little bit more methodical at 72 holes. What is more challenging? What you guys do or what he does?
I think it's equally as challenging.
What a bailout answer that is. I mean, come on.
I mean, physically, I would say his is definitely a bit more challenging. But when he comes and walks 18 holes with us, he is dead tired. Like he's
Really?
like, I can't do this.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a completely different type of like endurance. Like it's completely different. Like mental aspect, I would say that ours could be possibly a little harder just because we have way more time to think about
I
everything.
agree
And
with that.
there's a so just like action paced, and for us we have so much time to think about everything. But then when it comes to like physicality, I mean, they're running side to side
It's
all the
all
time. Like I would
ballistic.
say,
It's crazy what they do. It's crazy.
yeah, I mean, there that I would say 100 times hands down is harder. But when Seb comes, or just tennis players in general, come and walk 18 holes, they're fried after.
They can barely walk. They're literally
Yeah.
like asking for seats. We've had one of our friends actually cramp up.
You're kidding.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
just different.
golfers actually have to have some type of endurance, like to be able to walk. Shocking, I know. But like there's in comparison, there's also zero chance I could ever stand on a tennis court for 3 hours and run side to side. And 3 hours is like a happy medium. Like they go 5.5. I mean, look at the final in Australia between Nadal. Like
Yep.
with Nadal like running for 5+ hours. No,
No,
thank you.
it's true. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't your brother? Didn't he have a long match at Wimbledon last summer? Didn't he? Didn't I thought he had one that was a marathon match. I don't know if it was third round, and I thought it was somewhere in the 4 hour range.
Yeah, it was one of his longer matches this year.
He's had a
Was it
couple.
Australia? Was it in
Yeah.
Australia this year
And
too
his
that he had a long one?
his toes, like his nails, were all blue. Like they were
Blood.
done.
Yeah.
Like bloody toes.
Yeah.
I seeing Nelly, seeing you and your dad and your brother at the parent child. Is your brother a big sports fan? I mean, does he consume sports at a high level, or is he totally insulated to the world that he's in as a tennis player?
Oh man, he probably knows everything about hockey. He loves hockey. And what's cool is that a lot of hockey players love tennis too. So he's kind of throughout like his career, he's already formed a couple of good friendships with some hockey players. And he played hockey when he was younger, but he's very aware with what's going on in the sports world.
Jess, as far as your dad, is your dad, and I know you actually had a very good answer earlier. You said it's a better question for him to answer, but just based on observation, I think sometimes with parents, now your father and your mom, Regina, had, look, they were elite athletes themselves. Did you ever get it to a point where either one of you thought maybe either one of them maybe wanted it more than either one of you, or was that never even close?
No, they want us to be happy. And do our best, and they know what our goals are and they know how much we want it. I think sometimes it might hurt them more if we don't achieve something that we do want, because they, as parents, you feel for your children and you want to give them everything that they want. And when you see that they maybe don't reach or are struggling, I think you feel for them even more. So for them, I mean, our parents have been great with kind of separating that with us, where if I'm struggling or if Nelly's struggling or Seb, they're always there to kind of pick us up, give us a pep talk, and, give us a bit more perspective, because sometimes I think we get lost with our perspective and kind of exactly where we want to be going with it. So they've been phenomenal at that, but there's never been a point where they want us to do something like as if they're living vicariously through us. That's never not our family. No.
Yeah. It's just, it's, being around, whether it be friends or people you observe, it's just not healthy. It's not a healthy ingredient to have. I was watching an interview with a legendary actor, and he was talking about learning. And he said, I learn much better by observation than by trying. And I thought to myself, God, I never even thought of that. Like, and with you guys, there's a refinement, Nelly, to what you're doing on an everyday basis. Do you ever feel like, and this may seem weird, that you're working too hard and you're not working efficiently enough or smart enough?
Oh yeah, there's times definitely that I work way too hard, and my parents always tell me that I'm working too hard and that I need to like take a step away or step back and rethink everything, because I see like maybe after a couple of days that my body's really really sore, or I'm really tired. And they always say quality over quantity. Like that's something that they've kind of tried to ingrain in us. You see people like practicing for like 5 hours, 6 hours of being out there all day, but like how are you getting better from that? In a sense, I feel like it's better to go out maybe for 2 or 3 hours and you have way better quality practice. You're way sharper with your head. You know what you want to do. You go there and you do it and you go home. Well, when I feel like when I over practice, I put so much pressure on that thing that I'm over practicing that it's actually the thing that disappoints me in my round.
Are you the same way, Jess?
Because of my injuries, no.
Yeah.
I'm very smart with the way I practice. I have to be. I kind of don't have a choice anymore, but it makes you realize like what is the most important. Going out with a plan is always like, a huge key. But yeah, I'm very much quality over quantity.
Oh, I was hoping the dog would come in.
I didn't even know the door was supposed to be closed. Go say hi.
Charlie!
He can't hear you. I have headphones in. He's a little crazy. Just Nelly's best friend.
That is... Nelly, do you not have a dog?
No.
Why?
I can't. That's a commitment I can't commit to.
Wow, Jess, what does that say about her?
That's like,
commit to a
that's
dog?
literally like 30, 40 minutes less of sleep before my rounds, and I'm just not committed or not in a stage in my life to commit to that. Once I'm done with golf and moving on to my next part of life, oh my God, I'm going to have a farm of dogs.
I have 2 dogs. My wife's out of town right now, and they know that they can take full advantage of me when she's gone. Totally. I let them sleep in the bed, and then they wake me up at 2:00 in the morning and they want to go out. And I am their softie. I'm their complete pushover. And it doesn't bother me at all, because unconditionally, like that one.
You know
what Jess always says is they always go to the weakling. So
well, that's true. And they're always, when I go to my parents, he knows that my mom is going to give him cheese. So he'll sit by my mom and she goes, "Oh, what do you want, sweetie?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're starting them young."
Yeah. All right. Couple more things before I let you guys go. You played in the Seminole Pro Member, and Jess, you won the net.
When do you think you'd ever hear a professional golfer winning the net division?
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, look, you get paint. Your name is going to be. Now, I worked at Seminole for 2 seasons a million years ago, and those boards in those locker rooms are like everything to have your name on those boards. So, do they have those boards in the women's locker room?
No, they do not. They hang in the men's, though. I've heard big things. Yeah, my partner Mike Troy was super pumped. It was a really fun day.
It's a huge deal to get paint in that locker room, to have your you're going to be up there with like Sam Snead, Ben Hogan. I mean, that's
really cool.
That's very cool. All right, I'm gonna leave you guys with 5 quick questions. I thought for a minute I was gonna have you answer for the other, but then I was like, that would be so confusing. Because if I had you here in studio, maybe. All right, Nelly, let me start with you. The movie you've watched more times than any other movie in your life.
The Proposal.
Oh, great movie.
That's a good rom-com. That's good.
Yeah. God, yeah. And he's pretty nice to look at, too.
Well, the scene in the bedroom where he comes out of the shower.
Well, actually, I think it's both of them, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. No, he didn't shower. She did. He'd come in and he was... Okay, all right. Jess, how about you?
Sweet Home Alabama.
Wow.
I know. I could sit here and literally recite most of the movie, too. It's really sad.
All right, Jess, right back to you. The sound you like the most, any sound, what is your favorite sound?
The ball hitting the bottom of the cup.
My God, that was mine. Damn.
It doesn't have to be golf. I mean, it could be like...
This is like Family Feud, you know, when they ask you at the end, those fire...
That's exactly what it is. I aspired to be the host of Family Feud, so I'm fulfilling this dream. What would it be then, Nelly, if it's not that?
I mean, I take a lot of swing videos, so those are nice to listen to as well, like the strike when you know you've hit it really well.
Oh, so you're a solid ball striker?
Yeah, but also like some like the guys, like, you know, when a person really compresses the ball, like it sounds so pure.
There are some people, you guys are way too young. Nick Price had a very different sound. It sounded like a rifle shot. Rory, long irons, Rory sounds different. DJ, yeah, no, you're right. There's the people who can really squeeze it, it's a different sound. All right, yeah. Nelly, the career you would not like to try.
The career I would not like to try. I don't know, anything to do with, I really don't know.
Can I answer?
Yes.
Probably a brain surgeon.
That would be a bad one to fall ass backwards into.
Someone's life in my own hands. I don't know about that. Even though like I really love watching shows like that, I just don't know if I could ever do that.
All right, so Jess,
anything to do with
brain
science.
Surgeon.
If you have to go to school to do anything to do with science, like that's just a no-go for me.
Jess, what's yours? The career you would not like to try.
It's actually Agent Chris's job dealing with the two of us.
So maybe the most perfect answer.
Literally.
As he sits on the Zoom call, nodding his head,
he's like,
affirming that for sure. All right, Jess.
He's probably like, oh, no, girls aren't that bad.
Yeah, you guys are great.
All right, Jess, your celebrity crush growing up.
I had so many. Actually, Adam Scott was one of them.
Who? Oh, Adam Scott. That's my daughter, my younger daughter. Totally smitten. Nell?
Liam Hemsworth.
Also a good one.
Yeah. Solid.
Really
Zac
nice.
Efron. I thought you still like Zac Efron.
Well, also Jake Gyllenhaal, too.
Really?
Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, yeah. There's one answer. It's not like a whole stable full of guys.
Yeah.
Well, we'll give you a list.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. The skill you have, Nelly, that you're very proud of that nobody is really aware of. And this has nothing to do with golf. What are you good at that nobody really knows you're good at?
Saying no.
Wow. So that's a skill, I guess.
I don't know.
I'm dead.
Buying books I never read.
It's not a skill. It's a waste of money.
I don't know. There's a bunch. I don't know. I don't know. Just
okay. Like you're not. You can't play pool.
I'm
throw
really
darts.
good.
Jess, what are you good at?
I'm just like
Nelly. Okay, Nelly has the only thing that I know that she's really good. Yes, has a nasty forehand, like this, like top spinner that'll take a head off. But that's the only shot she has. She waits for it, and then she's like a pew.
Oh, you run around your backhand constantly.
Oh yeah, completely. Constantly. Like my backhand's just trash. But I've beaten my dad at ping pong, so I guess that's a win for me.
That is pretty good. Jess, what are you good at that nobody knows?
I'm really good at being really bad at opening things.
Yes.
Chip bags straight down. I'll try. I will try my best. Like I'm literally grinding on it. And now everyone just hands me scissors. Like my husband just looks at me and goes, just no. I was like,
just no.
Just even like envelopes. I'll try to open them like carefully and rip the whole thing off. Like I'm really good at being really bad at it. You've never seen anything like
that.
It.
That's a level of clumsiness that I can't even identify with.
I actually have another one. Is I'm really good at forgetting everything.
Yes,
You've shown that. You just showed that skill several times in this exercise.
You put me
Yeah.
like literally. I forget everything. I love when my mom comes and like travels with us because like she has everything.
Nelly's always missing her yardage book, missing a glove.
I leave my yardage book now in the car for that reason.
In the glove compartment?
It's in the door now.
Oh,
Because I know when I walk out, I just grab it and I go.
All right.
Worst case, the caddy knows where it is.
All right. Last thing, Jess, I'm going to start with you. The one person in history you'd like to walk and play 18 holes with and where?
Probably Bobby Jones.
Great answer.
And I want, like, this is so cheesy, but like back in the day, Augusta National on a Sunday.
When you say back in the day, why do you say back in the day? Like when it was like...
Because I really want to know and see how the golf courses were, like how that golf course was playing back when they were playing it.
Yeah.
I think, we're so used to playing golf courses the way that we've played them forever now, but I want to know what it was like for them back in the day and be able to like walk and talk and like just talk about life and golf and golf course setup and stuff like that. That would be pretty cool.
That's a phenomenal one because that was, unfortunately, his life ended, too young, really. It's in 1971, but that was his dream. And it was really kind of born out of St. Andrews. And that was the whole idea, that the idea of this open area with rolling hills, which St. Andrews is not. All right, Nelly, how about you? One person in history.
I'm going to do two people. And where, obviously, I would say Augusta, but Ben Hogan. And
he wouldn't talk to you. He wouldn't talk to you.
I don't need to. His swing talks. Like, literally, I would want to just see that. And then Seve, too.
Wow. You guys came armed with that last answer. Of course, Nelly broke the rules by adding Seve as like all of a sudden he's like an interloper and he is in your group.
Rules are meant to be broken.
How about like they just play like alternate shot or something? One ball.
Wow. Jones and Seve playing alternate shot, or Hogan and Seve. First of all, Seve would drive Hogan crazy because Hogan never played from anywhere but the fairway, and Seve never hit a fairway like the last 10 years of his career. That would actually be amusing.
Yeah. Work around the green.
You guys were not amused by that at all. Thanks, Nelly, with that very ambivalent. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm just thinking about it.
I think we're both visualizing what that would look like.
Yeah.
I think you're also both probably like, all right, can we wrap this up, which we're going to do right now. For everybody, again, who's listening on audio, you need to watch it because Nelly got her hair cut. You're going to see this long before. You guys play again when? When is the next time you're going to play? West Coast?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay. Just working between now and then? Just training? That's it?
Yep. Getting ready.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I know how precious your time is. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time. It's been a long 10 years. A lot has happened in our lives since we had, it was literally, it's weird. It's 10 years ago on the 8th of this month that you guys, and you guys don't even remember being there, let alone together.
I remember being there. I just don't remember her being there.
Okay. All right, guys, thank you very much. Take care of yourselves. I look forward to seeing you at the U.S. Women's Open. I'm going to be there and working and can't wait to see you.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Okay. Well, I thank again Nelly and Jessica Korda. And one thing, if you're listening and not necessarily watching on our YouTube channel, I highly recommend you guys watch it as well because the two of them together, there are things that they were doing that were quite hilarious, not to mention The dog coming in for the last 10 minutes of the interview telling Jess that let's wrap it up. But I do really appreciate them taking this ample amount of time to chat and talk about their lives, which are unique and extraordinary and highly achieving. One other reminder, it's not just me. Jay Billis got a new show coming out. Emma Carpenter, Gil Hance. As I said at the beginning, it is a very busy time. And the next 5 Clubs conversation for me, the guy who will be sitting right over there, Morgan Hoffman. If you've not read the great story by Daniel Rappaport in Golf Digest, do it as a little homework before you listen to this conversation. He is going to be in studio with me talking about a life that took a very significant turn about 5 years ago. So thank you to you. Thank you to the Kordas. And we'll see you next time on this 5 Clubs conversation.